Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Ranger, and you are listening to the first episode of the Never Peak Project podcast. In this episode, I'll be talking a bit about my walk across America, my plans now that I've finished, and what will be happening to my social media accounts, podcast, and more now that I am no longer walking across the country. 2024 has been a big year for me. I proposed to my fiance in January. I left my comfy government job in February. And in March, I started my walk across America. On March 10th, I took my first steps out of the Atlantic Ocean in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and started a 5.5 month, 2,600-mile journey across 10 states, which included South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and finally, California. A question I would get asked every single day, multiple times even, was why? Leave my fiance in California? Why leave the comfy government job? Why spend 6 months putting my body through such incredible feats and honestly a lot of pain and a whole lot of other things? And and to briefly answer that, I was inspired to walk across the country by an artist and singer named Mike Postner. He's the guy that took I Took a Pill in Ibiza, Cooler Than Me, and a few other hit songs, mostly popular in the early 2010s. And he walked across in 2019. I saw that, thought it was cool, but didn't really think that it was something for a guy like me, not something that it was possible for someone like me. I thought to myself that I didn't have the time, resources, or gumption or strength to do it. Then in 2022, I saw that a couple other guys were inspired to walk by Posner as well, Andrew Kivett and Mark Dudek. And from their stories, I realized that it was possible for me, that someone like me could do something like that. So I made the commitment in July of 2022. And over the next year and a half, I got my ducks in a row. I saved up money, got in shape, and really honed in on my own why and reasons for walking. And my reason for my walk, was to highlight, learn from, and work with people in the US that were truly making a difference in their communities. I did that by hosting the Within Range Coaching podcast, where I interviewed entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders about their organizations, their stories, and their impact that they're making in the world. And one of the hashtags and beliefs that I used and carried with me throughout the entire duration of the walk was there are good people out there. And that is a concept that was proven over and over and over again, in and day out. It was something that held true whether or not I was at the beach in South Carolina or California, whether I was in a big city, a small town, or in the middle of nowhere. And that was because throughout the entire journey, people were consistently offering me their home to rest in, giving me donations on the side of the road, or were just willing to share a conversation with me wherever I happened to be where they were. And throughout that entire journey, it took me 175 days, 2,600 miles through the 10 states, and it eventually came to an end on August 31st in Los Angeles, California. The finish line was decorated with friends and family that had pizza and non-alcoholic beer ready to go. And after jumping into the water, I got to pack up all my gear, pack up some stuff with my mom, with my friends, with my dad, throw out what wasn't needed anymore, and eventually get on a plane with my fiance, Julie, get on a plane with her and fly to San Francisco and really just get ready to start our life together with our kitten Walker. And we're only a few days out from August 31st, from the end date. And it's interesting how quickly things change, how quick questions that people ask you change, or priorities shift, right? And what makes me say that is that big question of why walk has shifted to what now, which is a very natural progression of questions to ask, just as natural as it was for anybody to meet me would ask, why did I walk or why am I walking? It's very natural now that I've ended for people to say, well, what now? And it's always funny because it feels like there is an expectation of something else that's big, something else that's grand or exciting or crazy. And when Mike finished his walk, he immediately started training to climb Mount Everest. And I've seen other people start after they finish their walk, they start making a bus that they can live in and refurbishing that, or these other crazy adventurous things. And to kind of, I don't know, ruin that question for some people. Like I do not plan on climbing Everest. I don't plan on living off grid or anything. This question will be answered in more detail throughout this podcast, but I'm not going to do anything like walk across the country again. I'm not going to do something like that, but I do think that I will be doing a lot of things that are adjacent or similar in other aspects. But I'll get more into that later. And to continue to answer that question, I want to give a saying that I have spoken a few times, even before the walk started. And that is that the walk will never truly end. While I may not be physically walking across the country, I do think that a lot of the key factors that made the walk what it was for me will continue to hold true throughout my entire life. And that's because the way that I designed the entire walk's purpose was to align heavily with my life coaching's business's mission, which is to help more people help more people. And that's why it was so important for me to highlight, learn from, and work with people that are making a difference throughout our entire country, was because, like, what better way to learn about how to help more people than to talk to people that are actually out there doing the work, right? It just made sense to me that if I was going to, I don't know, talk the talk, like I needed to quite literally walk the walk. And to continue answering that question of what now, briefly, I will be taking all of the information, lessons, and experiences I gained from the walk, and I'll be packaging it into this podcast, my Skool community, and coaching programs. And the reason for that is one of the things that I heard consistently throughout my walk while talking to people on the side of the road, while having those road talks, is kind of what I called them, or road conversations, or even just in interviews that I had with media or other, just this is something that people said consistently. And they said that they wish they could do something like that. I wish I could do something like what you're doing. And every time I heard that, it really just brought me back to that moment that I first saw that Posner was walking across the country. That I had all of these beliefs and I ascribed all these meanings to his walk and how that didn't relate to my life. How I couldn't do it, that I wasn't rich and famous enough, therefore it wasn't in the cards for me, or that I just didn't have that thing, that it factor needed to get across, or just all these other reasons and excuses that were getting in the way of me taking those first steps. And again, that was just something that came up so often that as soon as people heard that I was walking, they began making those reasons for themselves. They began doing that same thing that I was doing. And I just thought that was such an interesting phenomena that was happening. It was so natural for us to just immediately find how we are different from the people that are doing the things that we want to do. And I really truly believe, and I'm a case study for that, that if we can get past those self-limiting beliefs and take action towards those wild, crazy, amazing dreams that we all have, that the world would be such a better place. And to really make that vision of mine a reality, I'll be doing a few different things. And I kind of have them in phases in my head. I don't think phases is the right word because they're all kind of happening at once. But really, that first phase is what you're listening to right now, is this recording. And that's going to be that I'm switching the Within Range Coaching podcast over to the Never Peak Project. And really, this podcast is dedicated to entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and anyone committed to lifelong growth. And I want to make that very clear, is that this isn't just a business podcast. This isn't just a, you know, client acquisition cost and profit and loss statements and all these different things. Like, that will be a part of it, because I really truly believe that entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders are some of the most influential people in our society. They're the ones that really make a difference, that can create magic. They take their ideas, their vision for the world, and they're able to make it a reality and help people. And again, that is something that I saw very consistently throughout my entire journey. I mean, I have 30 episodes of the Within Range Coaching podcast that is just proven over and over and over again. For, like, I have people from every single state that I walk through on that podcast, and all different backgrounds and missions and visions, and it's there. And what I really want to do with the Never Peak project is challenge that traditional, long overdue to get rid of mentality that is what I kind of call the peak mentality. And that is the idea that there's only one pinnacle of success in everybody's life, that everybody has one achievement or thing that they've accomplished throughout their life that really defines their entire life. And the reason for that is because I've heard so many people say things like, I peaked in high school, or my best days are behind me, or just, again, during conversations I've had on the side of the road, after hearing my age, an older person on the walk would say something like, well, that's why you're still young enough to do these things. My best days are behind me. I could never. And I really want to challenge that belief, the belief that once you do one great thing, or you reach a certain age or a certain level of ability, that's it, that's all you can do. And I just do not believe that that is true, because personally, I really truly believe that my best days are ahead of me. And that's the same belief I have for everybody around me. And again, a lot of the imagery that I use is around mountain, never peak, within range. Like, the mountains are such an important thing to me, because that's where I grew up in Northern California. And the way that I kind of see it in my head is that life isn't just one singular peak, it's a mountain range. And there are so many different mountains to climb, so many different things to do, so many different sights to see, that to just get to the top of one mountain and sit there for the rest of your life, for me, it just feels like a waste. That you just stay there and you just never move towards something different. I do think that there is a level of, you need to sit in that moment and celebrate and acknowledge those accomplishments, but you learn so much about yourself and about the world by climbing whatever mountain you're reaching for, that it seems, I feel selfish isn't the right word, it seems wasteful to not use that to get somewhere else or help somebody else get to the top of theirs. And that's really what I want to get across with the entire Never Peak Project podcast, which is how to build a mountain range of achievements throughout your life, with each peak representing a new milestone that you yourself have reached, created, declared, and seen through to the end. And I'll be doing that by each week posting a few different episodes with the general schedule of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And each day is going to have a different theme for the most part. And Mondays are going to be general coaching topics. It'll be different learnings from the walk, mindset work, etc. And some of the very first episodes will be the importance of why, the frog and the lily pad approach to goal setting. If you want to know about the fields, ask the cows, trust your horse. A lot of animal metaphors I came up with while I was walking across the country. And those will be more tactical ways for you to apply different concepts to your life. My intention with those is to present a story from the walk or my life, the learning or the tool, really flesh it out during that episode. And then at the end, try to give you a way to actionably use it in your life starting immediately. I don't want it to just be us talking the entire time, or you listening and you not doing anything with it. I feel like a lot of people in the self-improvement space end up consuming a lot of information, but not doing a whole lot with that information. And I want to do the best that I can to present that information in a way that you feel empowered to use it in your life immediately. And that's why also on Wednesdays, I'll be going from an alternating week to a weekly schedule with this one as well. But Wednesdays will feature industry experts from multiple different fields. And the idea is that I'm going to have coaches, leaders, nonprofit consultants, agency owners, and just a whole bunch of more people on the show to share their knowledge and magic with all of you. I want this to be a way for us to really pull nuggets out of people so that you can use them toward in your life. And it'll be a way for me to network as well and, get my own questions answered. And I have a few different ways for you to ask your own questions of these guests as well, but we'll get to that in just a second. But then Fridays are going to be kind of a this week in Ranger's life. I'll be talking about, business, personal goals, a few other things, kind of my own what is it, like a web diary, like a what is a word? What is the word? Like a vlog. There we go. Like a vlog of my life and what I'm up to. And I think it'll be kind of interesting because it's going to kind of go from, you know, Ranger's journey of walking across America to my journey of starting and running a business in America. So a little bit of a different kind of walk with different stakes and different roadblocks to get past, right? And I just moved from Modesto to San Carlos, so Central Valley to the Bay Area of California. I think that that'll also be an interesting little tidbit that I have to navigate and get across. So I hope that my rocky cutscene, as I will refer to it in the future, will be interesting to you guys as well. And really, my intention with the Friday episodes is to do something very similar that another podcaster named Alex Hormozy does. So, in the Game podcast by Alex Hormozy, in one of his intros, he says that he is trying to build a billion-dollar thing with acquisition.com. And he wishes that Warren Buffett and Musk kept track of their journeys on their way to creating billion-dollar businesses. So, he is doing that for the rest of us. And what I kind of wish there was, which I think that he kind of does it like in the very beginning, but not quite for my industry and for my learnings and what I want to build, is keep track of my journey. I want to be able to look back at myself and say, this is where I started. These are the things that I've learned. This is what I've documented. And I hope that by sharing my struggles, it inspires somebody else, or other people can share their learnings and how they got past different things, and really just be another resource for people as they build their business or the life that they've always wanted to live. And a lot of his podcast and a lot of his content right now, that he's already a millionaire, he's already doing, his $100 million thing. I really want to show that journey, those struggles from the very beginning, because I'm literally going from zero trying to get to one. And, he's at 100 million trying to get to a billion, which is great. But I want to kind of show that story again from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 100,000. I feel like is the common number that people use for business, right? Everybody wants to make $100,000 a year. And I want to show that journey and that struggle and those lessons. So that's what Friday episodes will be dedicated to, is all about me. And I'll also be talking about, weightlifting, running, rock climbing, all those other fun things that I get to do. And the other fun thing I'll be doing is running a Skool community called Never Peak, the First Step. And this is one of the first official communities for the Never Peak Project, where listeners of the show can come together to learn from, network with, and help others in the community move towards their goals. I've already uploaded some courses that will be useful in terms of fleshing out your why, getting past roadblocks and working towards the goals that you have in your life. And a lot of it will be, again, taking the things that we talk about in this podcast and doing something with it. And I feel like being able to be in a network, in a community of like minded individuals that are all working towards their own goals, for me, has been so impactful. So I'm creating a community that does just that for those that are listeners. And I mentioned this earlier, but in the community, I'm going to be finding a way to bring in the guests that we have on the Never Peak Project for you to ask your questions to in a live Zoom setting where we can get our individual questions answered one to many, one to one, so that we can, again, continue to never peak. So, if you are interested in getting into that community, as of recording this right now, there are 10 free spots left. And after that, it will switch to a paid community. So, if you want to get in either free or at the cheapest it'll be, head to the link in the show notes and join. I'll be there. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have before you join, after you join, while you're in it, whatever, to make sure that the community is as strong as possible. And I'll also be doing some one-to-one and small group coaching for those that would like a bit more individualized attention, but we'll talk more on that later. Check out the link in the show notes as well to answer a few questions there. And another thing I'll be doing, especially over the next year, is writing, a whole lot of writing. Over the next month or so, I'll be working on my Walk Across America journal to get that wrapped up and available for download. And the journal is going to be a day-to-day account of my Walk Across America and include things like, the start and stop points, miles walked, the decisions I made, why I made those decisions, and so much more. It'll be pretty lengthy. I think right now it's already at about 100 pages, and I'm only about 40 or 50 days in out of 175. But it will be basically an unabridged account of the 5.5 month journey. And the reason I want to post the unabridged version and the unedited, day-to-day accounts is because I want it to be kind of a way for folks to, read through it or look for the highlights, look for the things that resonate with them, and see what lessons others pull out of my journey. Of course, I'll be looking at everything through the lens of Ranger, but I hope that maybe there's a way for other people to kind of share what their takeaways are with me and the community as well, so that we can all learn from each other and, I don't know, do something else with it. I think it'll be interesting. Kind of like the idea that everybody has their own meanings, or they pull apart different meanings from different pieces of art. All of that will really be in preparation for the book. The next book, which will be very much a self-help, life coaching-esque narrative, will be one that goes over different mental models, tools, and lessons from my walk across America. And I think that's also why I want to see what other people think of my journey first, here and there, is to see what would be the most impactful and useful for this project. I'm not sure what I want to name it just yet. I'm still working through a few title ideas that I have, but I think that it will be a way for me to really, I don't know, just put everything together in a way that can be kind of mass produced and to say, here's the information, do with it what you will. And I think that it will take a very similar approach to the Monday episodes of the podcast, in that it's going to be, here's the story, here's the tool, here's the model, here's the lesson, here's how you can apply it. If you can't tell, action is very important to me and those that I serve in this community, whether it is a one-to-one client, a small group, or people in the Skool community or on the podcast. Like, I really think that, what is it? Like, ideas without action are worth nothing more than the brain cells that they occupy. I hold that to be extremely, extremely true in everything that I do. And I want that to be at the center of this community. But when it comes to that book, I have no clue when it will be out, but my first goal is to have a draft done within a year of my end date. So by August 31st, 2025, my goal is to have the first draft done and go from there. So if you'd like to be updated about that, it'll be every Friday. I'll be talking about it here and there. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of lessons will be learned in that as well. But professionally, between the podcast, school community, coaching, and writing, that's really all I have planned professionally for now. I do have a few different side gigs. I'll be doing that here and there. But other than that, my plan is to go into coaching full time. And I am excited to take all of you on that journey with me. On the personal side, I have a wedding to plan, so that'll be fun. Ton of workouts to do. Again, I'll be getting into weightlifting, running, and climbing. I have a bunch of friends I want to hang out with, family to see, and I'll also talk about that here and there. But that is a majority of what I have planned. Oh, I'll be getting my animals soon. I've talked about this here and there, but I am super into reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates. So snakes, lizards, frogs, spiders, mainly tarantulas. And right now, at the time of recording this podcast, those are all still with friends and family in varying locations. And pretty soon, I will be able to see them again. And I am so excited to have them back and interact with them. So I'll be posting about them here pretty soon as well. And talking about some lessons that I learned when I was running a reptile rescue prior to leaving for the walk. So more on that. Before I jump on any more tangents, I just want to thank all of you for tuning in for the first episode of the Never Peak Project. I am super excited to see where all of this goes. And for those of you that have been watching my journey across the country or joined before that, during, or right after, thank you for your time and attention. I know that those are two of our most valuable resources and things that we can never really get back. So thank you for sharing a little bit of that with me. And I am really excited to see the next adventures on the horizon have for all of us. So now that we're at the end of the first episode, I want to leave you all with this. Remember that the best is yet to come, as long as you are willing to take that first step and never quit. I'll see you all in the next episode.